Hey, it's Nightiger. Today we're gonna try to make an atmospheric blade type beat, ripsquad type beat. I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks and just guide you through the entire process. So let's start by picking up serum. I'm actually gonna use a really cool serum stash, which is called the Hollow Heart Serum Stash Volume 2. This has a lot of cool sounds for that sort of style. Very synthetic sounding and dark. We're just gonna make a quick chord progression. So we're basically going for a very simple chord progression, the one that you would see in like generic pop beats, like generic EDM, and then we want to try and make an atmospheric and simple melody on top. Notice that we are in G major, and I'm using a lot of the G note, and what that does is actually create the major intonality we want. We also use a lot of the F sharp notes to kind of create tension. We can also try adding some notes on top. Yeah, I like that. We're gonna pull up another serum, and again I'm using the Hollow Heart Serum Stash. I'm gonna try and make a lead pattern. To add some movement to this lead and make it a little bit less harsh, we're going to turn on the mono, legato, and slide. We're going to pull up another serum and just keep adding sounds till it sounds kind of full and just rich. So for this, I'm actually going to copy this pattern here. I'm going to remove these top notes. And I'm going to see how that sounds with a pad layer on it. I'm going to click Ctrl L to extend these notes and try to find a good pad preset. Let's try and add an ARP maybe. Now we're going to select all of these melodies by holding Ctrl right there and clicking Ctrl and L. And that's going to route them to the mixer track. And now we can play around with some effects. The first thing you should always do on your melodies is pull up an EQ and then cut out all of the low end. Everything under 100 Hz, just so it isn't muddy and doesn't collide with the bass you add later. I'm gonna add some Luxverb, which is the new reverb in FL21. I really like that sound. Actually, I'm gonna add it before the EQ, so if it generates some low end with the EQ, just gonna cut it out. I'm gonna make it a little wider maybe. Okay, next up we have lead. This is definitely a harsh sound. I'm gonna turn the highs down a little bit. Cut out all the low end. So I select high pass, I select the higher order, and cut out everything below 100 Hz. Again, this sound is pretty harsh, so I'm gonna actually join it in some delay. Okay, I'm gonna turn up the stereo knob so it's a little bit wider. I'm actually gonna select the time to 6.0, which is gonna make it a cool triplet effect. I'm going to turn the whole sound a little bit down, and also I'm going to apply the Luxverb. Using a lot of delay and reverb can really help to create the atmosphere, so I really recommend doing that. People like to say you need to be careful with delay and reverb, and while I do think that's true, I do think you should experiment with it, and even adding a lot of reverb can just make it sound ambient. It's not necessarily going to ruin your track, right? Yandere puts reverb on like every single drum sound of his, and it sounds great, so yeah, you just have to experiment really. Next up we have this nice pad sound. So again, we're cutting everything below 100 Hz. Adding some more Luxverb. Make it a little bit wider and a little bit quieter. We have this harp. Again, we're cutting everything below 100 Hz. Actually, a little bit more for this one, because I really want it to be present only in the high end. And I'm also going to apply some serum effects. This is basically a plugin that just has all of the effects from this serum plugin. And what I really like about the serum effects in particular is the down sample distortion, which is basically just a bit crush. There's quite a lot going on in here, so I'm actually going to apply some grow speed to this ARP. Turn up the release a little bit. Turn down the mix. And this glitching effect basically just leaves more space for all of the other melodies to breathe. And also creates some additional bounce. You can also use kickstart right here, which is basically just sidechain. You can turn down the mix. And again, that also creates just more space for the keys, especially to breathe. For this sound, I think what would really fit is a pan man, which basically just makes it just go like around your headphones. I like to use this preset. Just turn down the width a little bit. Then we're gonna add a Reese sound. For that, we can just copy the chord progression and paste it onto the Reese. We're going to turn off the Reese and just start making drums. I'm just going to hold control and route all of these to one track. That allows me to turn down the volume for all of them at once. And it's going to be easier for me to select the sounds appropriately. Let's just search for sounds that seem to sound good with the melody. I like this hi-hat. Alright, we have a nice selection of sounds, so let's try to make a pattern. I really like to try using midis first and see if any of the midis fit the beat really well. Because if you do find a midi that works really well with the beat, then what's the point of making a specific hi-hat pattern, right? So I'm just going to scroll through my favorite midis and see if any of them fit the beat. So first of all, I know I'm going to use the classic clap pattern because it just sounds great on every beat. Same for the perks. And snares. You can see that my midis are actually twice as long as the melody, so I'm just gonna hit Control B on every single one of these melodies. And I can just use scroll to scroll through these. I'm just hitting Control B and that's it. And now we have a full 8-bar pattern. The reason why you can indeed get away with using midis on your drums is because if you make beats for artists, the drums should really be simple. They shouldn't be the star of the show. They're not the thing that makes the track special. They're just supposed to be there to create the rhythm. I'm gonna create the kick pattern by myself. I'm gonna copy the kick pattern onto the 808, hit Ctrl L to make the notes longer, do this. Alright, now I'm going to hold Control and select all of these. Hit Control L to route them to their mixer tracks. Hold Shift and scroll to just move this channel right here. So it separates like the melody and it's in the buzz. And now we have the Reese bass. And now it's like separated and then I know I have all the drums, right? It's just like easier for me to see. I just realized I forgot the hi-hat pattern. The sidechain on the melody is going to be really subtle. And on the 808s, it's going to be a little bit harsher. Also, it really helps to have a master preset in your workflow. Right now, I'm just leveling and EQing the sounds. I feel like may need some changes. I'm going to give you a little bit of a controversial tip right here. When it comes to mixing drums, if you're like unsure whether the sound should be like louder or quieter, it's better to have your drums louder than have them quieter. Because if the drums are too quiet, and like so the melody is like super loud and overbearing, the vocalist isn't gonna have much space for their vocals, and also the rhythm and the beat is gonna be really weak, so the final product would just be a mess. But on the other hand, if the drums are too loud and the melody is too quiet, that really just makes the vocalist have more space for their vocals. Of course, it's better to have them perfect than have them too loud, but if you just don't really hear if the drums are too loud or too quiet, then it's better to turn them up a little bit more. Now I'm gonna right click on the pattern and click S, and that's gonna split the pattern to each individual sound. Now I'm gonna hold shift and click the first and the last pattern and drag them onto the playlist. Now I'm gonna hit Ctrl B a few times. I'm gonna remove the drums in the first part. I'm gonna remove these two sounds at the beginning. And I'm gonna do some pauses in the patterns. Just a cool intro for the hook. Also, every 8 bars I'm gonna do hi-hat pauses like that to create some tension. Now I'm gonna pop in some transitions. Create an automation clip on the master like that to just subtly make it more quiet. Also, since we're in the late ripsquad meta, late ripsquad realm, we're actually going to use a laugh filter automation. So if you load up the plugin Fruity Laugh Filter, you can go to presets, simple triangle low pass LFO. I like to decrease the resonance a little bit and also turn up the cut. Now I can create an automation clip for this and just make it for the intro like this. I also think the DP riser might be a cool addition to that. I'm also going to add some reverb to that DP riser, and I'm going to use the Lux Verb again. I really like that plugin. And I'm also going to add this symbol at like every 8 bars, I think. So I can just right click here, drag it like that, so it like selects the part of the arrangement, and then I can just select only that symbol and just hit Ctrl B until it fills up the entire arrangement. I'm just gonna add my Nightiger tag. I like to tag my beats at the beginning and also at the end right here. That's about all I have for you today. I hope you learned something new. Maybe you picked up a couple of tricks throughout the video. If you want to have the cool melody sounds I used in this video, they're actually all from the Hollow Heart Serum Stash Volume 2, and it actually has 120 sounds, which is a lot. So if you decide to support us and actually get the bank, then you're not running out of sounds anytime soon. I'm gonna be doing a lot more tutorials like this, so if you enjoyed that, then please consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.